can you explain a little bit more of why the approach to the higher end market, or why the approach to make the best loudspeaker you can do without compromise, instead of making a loudspeaker that is more affordable with different types of compromises because of cost, in the design?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good question. Well, at that point, we realized that bringing something very exclusive to the market is probably more doable for us, because we were a tiny company. At that point, we were only a few people in the family. And so we thought that if we want to do something, then it needs to be something very unique, very special. I think it's very difficult to start a business with something, I would say, more standard in the industry, because it's very difficult to be noticed. It needs a lot of resources, so on. So we were sure that this will be something of a very good quality. And the other thing is with my father, that if he's doing something, that just needs to be the best that he can do. He's not really going to do any compromises. So that was clear from the beginning, that his idea is to create the best that he can. So we didn't look at numbers. Our idea was that, okay, let's build a speaker and then let's calculate what's the cost of it. So we didn't set any limits, because this is what actually happened before, that usually my father, Alfred, he had some kind of limitations, like, okay, this is the budget, this is the price point that you should design, and that's it. But this sets certain limits to engineers. So he was really eager to build something like the best that he can. So this is from where we started. Of course, now as the company has grown, we have been able to bring some of that knowledge to our entry-level models. But this is, our goal, to develop better and better things, and then be able to bring them like down in cost. But in the beginning, let's do it and let's see what comes out of it.
So the speaker design itself is so unique, so beautiful. It's a piece of art, and just as a standalone piece. Did that come out of this initial thing in 2010, or his background? Did he do other speakers kind of similar design, or was this totally unique from the start?
This was actually quite unique. He had some other unique designs before that as well, but the limitation was the material of the cabinet. So before we started with Estelon, my father, Alfred, he was trying all kinds of different materials and technologies available. And when we started with Estelon, I remember the first tests that we did, they didn't work out. It was not possible to do it this way. But, when engineers say this is not possible, they will go home and they cannot sleep. They will figure out how to do that. So anyway, we had some very good people working with us who actually figured out how to do it. And we found the right recipe of this material. So it would have all the right properties for the cabinet that we needed to create. And my father's main goal was to achieve the shape that we have today. So all Estelon speakers, if you look at them, they have the same design philosophy. And it was very, very important to get rid of all the corners, no parallel walls inside or outside. So there are no reflections. The cabinet is really like very dead. So it will not create any colorations. So the idea was to create ideal conditions for all the drivers and components. And this way to create the ideal shape that would actually play in a real listening room, not in a chamber, not to get the best measurements, but so it would play in a real listening room. And so basically how my father designs, he would like take so-called white paper and start from zero every model. He forgets what he knows about, other designs. And then it's like, okay, so the purpose is to design a speaker for, let's say, this size of the room. What do we know about these rooms? So usually they would have these dimensions. This means that we have to place, drivers here and there. And so all the angles, and then he would have like the sketch, like this is the starting point. And then he would start designing it from inside. So the engineering part comes first. And then the final thing is the design. But well, Alfred is just lucky. He has this talent of engineering and designing, which is quite rare, because every line, every detail you change in the design that affects the sound. So he always has to keep in mind both aspects. Like, okay, if I do this line here, I will not get this sound right. So anyway, it's always working around this, both aspects. And I know that when I see a loudspeaker design that he has created, initially it will look nice, but I know that 6 months later, when I look at this, that would be ideal. So he will work with this design until he's 100% happy. There should be nothing that irritates his eye. So it's very very difficult process as I see it from the distance. So I mean, he will usually say, oh, that's easy, but I know it's not easy.
Yeah, well, your designs are very easy on the eyes, if not better. And the fact that you mentioned about baffle reflections, I mean, that's a real problem with speakers over the years. And to be able to design a speaker that contours each driver almost such that you got minimal baffle reflections, and do it in a very aesthetically pleasing way that's almost artistic, is really what sets you guys apart, at least in my mind. I've never seen a speaker that really did it as well as you guys have. And then the performance with the drivers. Can you touch on a little bit about the drivers that you use and how he selects those?
Yeah, so our first models, when we introduced them to the market, they were with Accuton drivers from Germany. Many people ask, like, they were ceramic drivers, so why ceramic? But the answer is not, because they are ceramic, because many people find that ceramic is difficult to use in the design process. But with Accuton, we found exactly what we needed. And yes, they are difficult to work with, but if you use them in a right way, they are the best that Alfred could find. And today, a very good collaboration. And yeah, and then we also use CanSpeak and SEAS drivers. This is on our YB model. Again, this is not because, we didn't like one or another thing, but Alfred usually tries to see, so what is necessary for this type of speaker? And then he will choose the best for this particular speaker. So this is very important aspect, that usually everything starts from the concept, the idea, and then he chooses the drivers that work best. So the combination of the drivers, that's the most important part.
Alissa, so again, we've talked about the beauty of the design of the speaker. Can you talk to us a little bit more about the cabinet? Because I know you guys use marble, which is not that I know of. Nobody else in the industry is using marble as a cabinet material. So it's a composite between marble and an epoxy in order to get the cabinet. So can you talk to us a little more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the most important things in Estelon design is the cabinet design. So everything starts from the shape. So the shape should support the drivers and the components inside the cabinet. But to get this cabinet, I mean, we can't use MDF. So we had to come up with some kind of material that would help us to achieve the shape that we needed. So basically the research was for almost 5 years. We tried different combinations and the first ones didn't work out. But finally we ended up finding a material that's marble-based composite. And it has some special ingredients there as well to actually get this specific characteristics of the material, but this allows us to create those shapes. So we use a molding process to build the cabinets. So they are quite heavy, but this is good because it makes them very stable, no vibrations. As I explained, no parallel walls inside or outside. So this molding technique really helps us to achieve the shape. And this shape is very important, not only for the components inside the cabinet, but also outside, how they are in the room. If we get any reflections from the walls, ceilings, no. So the idea of this was eliminating all the reflections. So it would be only the speaker, only the drivers creating what we need. And also the painting process. So we use automotive technologies and paints and lacquers, which are very stable. And it's a very time-consuming process, of course. First, you need to prepare this marble-based cabinet for painting, and then many, many layers of paint and lacquer. And it's all handmade, but it gives us a very, very good result. So as Luis also mentioned, so the cabinet and the finish, they really have this very luxurious look. And this is what we want to achieve. I mean, if the customer is paying so much money for the speakers, it shouldn't be a box that you hide somewhere in the corner of your room. It should be part of your interior. So we have actually received some beautiful emails from our customers thanking us that even if the product is not playing, it's there in their room as a sculpture or as a piece of art. So we really, really pay attention to all those details. So yeah, this is our main idea, that it's something that is part of your interior.
Definitely is true. I mean, my wife loved the shape and form of the speaker. It was definitely, you know, an addition to the house instead of an eyesore. I mean, we definitely designed around it because it's such a nice looking piece. And Jason can put up some pictures of the speakers we have at the store and how it looks in our customers' locations. And I hope you guys are able to either meet us at our showroom in Houston or at Rocky Mountain, so you can see, you know, some of the top lines of Estelon speakers.